Am I wrong to refer to my neighbors as Mexican? I am full Mexican. I always sense when white people are scared to say Mexican. It makes me feel awkward. I am a Mexican. Why make it weird? I like being called Mexican over Hispanic any day. As someone who is Mexican, I would prefer being called Mexican over Hispanic. Hispanic is very broad. Calling me Mexican is more personal and it's what I would prefer. Latino is good too. I would also prefer that over Hispanic. The thing is, though, that a lot of people make the assumption that any Latino or Hispanic person they meet is Mexican. I've had friends in school who were asked if they were Mexican, to which they had to respond no, which was not the answer they were expecting. It's kind of like how Asian people are often grouped into being Chinese, Japanese, or Korean, even though being Asian spans a lot further than just that. I hope this made sense, lol. No, they are Mexican and are probably very proud to be Mexican. Or you could ask them what they would prefer to be called. You're fine. Don't worry about the weird lady who tried to correct you. It's only bad to call them Mexican if you're assuming they're from Mexico, when they might actually be from Ecuador or Panama or Peru, etc. For what it's worth, I've heard Latinos say they prefer the word Latino. But I've never in my life heard anyone but a white person use the word Hispanic. Except someone like George Lopez or Cheech Marin using it as part of a joke. If they are from Mexico, it's perfectly fine to refer to them as Mexican. If your neighbors were from Ireland, you would say they were Irish. Mexican can only be offensive if you are referring to them in an offensive manner. But at that point, calling them Mexican isn't the real issue. I would say it's much more offensive to imply or believe that referring to someone from Mexico as Mexican is insulting. It's just as appropriate as referring to someone from France as French, or Syria as Syrian, or Colombia as Colombian. None of these words are slurs. Just white people taking on the responsibility for being offended for other people. The Latin Americans I know prefer to be called by their original nationality. Mexican, Honduran, Guatemalan, etc. Also, most seem to despise Latinx. Sounds like grandpa is Mexican, and the parents are Mexican, and the kids probably see themselves as Mexican and American. But of course that depends on things like what age they were when the family moved. Generally, you'd just refer to a person however they refer to themselves for that sort of thing. But there's no way that a family from Mexico is going to be offended by being referred to as Mexican. Mexican here, I prefer Mexican or Latina. Hispanic is incorrect as it assumes from Spain. The bulk of my ethnicity is indigenous and maybe like 20% Spanish. Also, growing up, people hated saying Mexican. They would rather say Spanish or Hispanic, and it always made me feel like either Mexican was deemed dirty or not good enough. I'm proudly Mexican and use that term all the time. And trust me, people knew I was Mexican in my hometown. It wasn't like they didn't know. If they are actually Mexican, then there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a white lady being offended on behalf of another group. It would only be offensive if they are not Mexican. Hi, second-gen Latino here. The answer is complicated. Neither Hispanic nor Latino is a race in the same way Asian or Black are. In particular, Hispanic can be a loaded term for some of us, and not all of us like using that word. As an example, a Filipino or Spaniard can be considered Hispanic because they come from a Spanish-speaking country, while a Brazilian cannot because they speak Portuguese. Latino can also exclude Spanish-speaking people from the Caribbean like Dominicans and Cubans, even though they're Spanish-speaking. and within Mexican-American communities, Chicano is a common term to refer specifically to second-gen folks who might not speak Spanish at all. So putting people under a blanket term of Hispanic is actually kind of a less PC thing than calling them by their country of origin. If the family next door has told you they are Mexican, and are proud to be Mexicans or identify as being from Mexico, then respect that and call them Mexicans. You wouldn't use the word African American or black to describe someone from Ghana, as they don't share the same culture or experience as an American-born black person. It's the same idea. Here, if your white lady friend corrects you again, clarify to her that you are respectfully referring to their country of origin and not their race. 2. Not all of us are Hispanic nor even like that term. And 3. While you appreciate her trying to be more PC, she shouldn't make assumptions, as that can make others uncomfortable. I know I've felt very uncomfortable when white people, who assume I am white due to my light skin color, try to correct me for these kinds of things. Thank you for taking the time to try and understand other cultures and asking questions. People like you are important to making the world a more accepting place. No, they're from Mexico. Mexican is a specific nationality. Hispanic just means someone from a predominantly Spanish-speaking country. It doesn't refer to any country specifically, and neither one of them refers to race. Your neighbor is an idiot. Mexican is fine if they are truly Mexican. And if really want to be politically correct, Latino is typically preferable to Hispanic, so you can tell her that lol. While grown adults are really going back and forth about being called Mexican or Hispanic, and when you thought you heard it all, LMFAO man facepalming light skin tone. My wife is Mexican. A lot of her family live legally on Texas side of border with some still in Mexico. I call her and them Mexican. They refer to themselves that way. It'll get interchanged sometimes with Hispanic. They always talk about the Mexican culture and growing up Mexican and eating Mexican food and all. The Mexicans around and blah blah. But these days anyone gets offended at every little thing, so not surprising someone doesn't like it. My wife's family is proud to be Mexican. When someone calls someone Mexican just because they're Hispanic and they're making assumptions, that's kinda sus. But if you know for a fact they're from Mexico, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But some people take it too far out of fear they're in the former camp. As long as you don't call them Latinx, we're good.
No. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.